or with the meeting? Miss Leah?
Yes.
Okay. I'm
Sorry,
moving
did you call
right along. Yes, I see my video is disabled by the host and I cannot start
Oh,
it again.
sorry, I don't know what happened.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Miss Leah. I have a special appreciation for our icebreaker speakers because when I joined Toastmasters, it took me around 4 months to gather the strength to come on stage and introduce myself to the club members. So whenever I see new members stepping up to give their icebreakers, I'm genuinely impressed by their courage. So tonight I see that we have 3 speakers who are going to be giving us the icebreaker speeches. Kudos to them. So our first speaker is Ola Murinda. So at this point, I will invite Hasina Hamdani, who's her evaluator, to come us and tell us about Ola's speech. Miss Hasina, the virtual
Thank you,
stage is
Madam
yours.
Toastmaster. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. Good evening, Toastmaster of the Day, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It is my pleasure to evaluate Toastmaster Ola Morinda for the speech The Rising Sun, My Journey to Purpose. And my focus will be how effectively he introduces himself, clarity, and the structure of the speech. So back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hasina. Ola Murinda with the speech titled The Rising Sun, My Journey to Purpose. Over to you, Murinda.
Thank you, Matiso, for that kind introduction. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. One thing about nature is that the rising of the sun never goes unnoticed. It is visible to many. Ladies and gentlemen, I am an accounting professional, currently serving as a finance officer at an IT company here in Gaborone. I am also an entrepreneur at heart, working towards building my own accounting firm. I am a member of the Botswana Institute of Chartered Accountants, and I hold 2 accounting qualifications, a professional diploma in accounting from AAT and a professional diploma and an advanced diploma in accounting and business from ACCA. I'm currently in the final stages of completing my ACCA qualifications. Now that you know a little bit about who I am, let me share a little bit of the journey that has shaped me into the person I am today. One might ask, why choose the path of accounting? I never in my life dreamt of becoming an accountant, even during my school days from junior school and senior school. I never did accounting, nor did I think of owning my accounting firm one day. But it was only when I applied for my qualification at BAC that I started doing accounting and everything started to make sense. It was daunting at first. However, few days in, I realized that this is the path meant for me. And from that moment, growth began. I started building on my vision, entrepreneurship. I knew accounting was going to be my foundation to the greatness that is to come. Though I never knew how, I started reading books on entrepreneurship. And one of the books I started reading was Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. One of his words are, I wasn't born a natural entrepreneur. I had to be trained. As I reflect on this, I realized that sometimes the path we never planned for is the one that shapes us the most. It then went to a point where now reading books was not enough. Fast forward to 2024, I joined the Mokgobe Entrepreneurship Mentorship with the idea of cultivating the ideas I had. It turned out it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I learned the foundational elements on how to start a company and how to run it. But one thing which I had a problem with, public speaking. During the mentorship, Mr. Mokgobe would assign the books on which to read, and he would pick randomly the mentee who shall represent in that particular day. However, the day came, and before he can select a mentee to present, I volunteered. As I was there delivering my presentation, fear took over and I couldn't finish the presentation. I never realized it can go to a point where my mind goes blank. After that failed presentation, Mr. Mokgobe gave me feedback and he directed me to Toastmasters as he believed the club can help me in my public speaking. That is why last month I made a commitment to join the club as it was now time. The sun was beginning now to rise. From not even knowing what accounting was to now pursuing it as a career and building a vision around it. I've learned to trust the process and embrace the unexpected as the journey is iterative. Today, I stand not just as an accountant, but as someone who found purpose in an unlikely place. Ladies and gentlemen, you might wonder why when the sun rises, it's visible to many. The meaning of Ola comes from Orion, which means the rising sun. Today, I live by the meaning of my name. Thank you. Over to you, Matsiriso.
Thank you. A round of applause for Murinda for that wonderful introduction. Thank you. Thank you very much, Murinda. As a fellow accountant, I could relate. We often shy away from public speaking, but at some point we are forced to learn how to speak. Thank you so very much.
Yeah.
Up on stage, I would call upon Thulaganyo Tshweneagae, who will be evaluating Phatsimo Mhapi. Thulaganyo Tshweneagae, who will be evaluating Phatsimo. Over to you, Thuli.
Mute.
You are still muted. Okay. Thulaganyo, you are still muted.
Is it okay?
There you are. Yes,
Okay.
please go ahead.
Good evening, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, visitors, and especially our speaker, Phatsimo Mhapi. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Yes.
It's truly a pleasure to serve as your evaluator this evening. So my name is Thulaganyo Tshweneagae. Phatsimo Mhapi will be presenting her very first icebreaker speech under the presentation Mastery Level 1. And her speech is titled Uncomfortable Growth. So the purpose of her project is basically to introduce herself to the club and also to begin her confidence development journey, comfort in public speaking. So I'll talk a little bit about the objectives of your speech. So the objectives of your speech is to share aspects of your background with the club, your interests, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little storytelling so that you can establish a connection with us. And so, Patsimo, as your evaluator tonight, I'll be focusing my evaluation to 3 parts. Firstly, I'll be looking at what you excelled at, right? What's going to stand out for me. Secondly, I'll also look at areas where I think you'd want to improve in. And also, lastly, I would also look at what I would want you to challenge yourself in. And that's all. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
Okay, thank you, Thulaganyo. Over to you, Patsimo Happy, with this speech titled Uncomfortable Growth. The virtual stage is yours, Patsimo.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, good evening. If overthinking was a sport, I would be the gold medalist. My name is Patsimo and I am a chronic overthinker. You know, people who make quick decisions are able to think on the spot. They give answers just like this. Well, unfortunate to say, I'm not one of those people. I need to think about my decision. I need to compare options, think about its consequences and how it's going to affect people. It's a whole thing. I value growth and self-improvement. I like looking for ways to become a better version of myself, whether it's learning a new skill or stepping into an unfamiliar situation. Although I do find it super scary. Growth happens when we are willing to be uncomfortable. Speaking of discomfort, this is my why. This is the why that I joined Toastmasters. Sitting over a screen full of people listening to me talk about myself is not something I'm comfortable with. So this is me taking a step in improving that. In fact, my speech preparation involved more than unnecessary planning and thinking as well. Like, which route should I take? Should I take the informative route? Should I take the humorous route? Which one would be more interesting? But I'm here because I want to challenge myself. I want to be more confident, articulate, and comfortable in sharing my thoughts and ideas. Growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. Public speaking is like a muscle. It needs to be constantly exercised so that it becomes stronger. So, this is me exercising that muscle, nervous and uncomfortable as I am. Today, I'm grateful for this first step and excited for the next one. Toastmasters, Madam Toastmaster, and guests, thank you for lending me your ears.
Thank you, Patsimo. I heard that you are somebody who values growth and self-improvement, but I can assure you that you have arrived at the safe place. So here at Toastmasters, we are a safe place for learning. So you have arrived at the right place. Thank you for that wonderful introduction of yourself to the club.
Thank you.
And up on the virtual stage, I would invite Lame Mutetwa, who will be evaluating Keletso Maidi. Ms. Leah, do we have Lame Mutetwa on the call?
I don't seem to see her on the participants list.
Okay, can we have someone volunteer to evaluate Keletso?
She's doing write a speech with purpose.
I see Julie has raised her hand. Julie, are you up for the challenge? You are muted.
I'm not muted now. I was supposed to be evaluating Lame, but if she's not on the grammarian's been cheeky, I can see it. I was supposed to be evaluating Lame, but she's not here, so let me evaluate the person she's supposed to be evaluating, except I don't have the speech requirements. Let's have a look on my phone.
Ms. Leah, can you be able to assist Julie get the evaluation
It's on the
objectives for
WhatsApp
Keletso?
group. It's on the WhatsApp group. So
Yeah, I'm just looking on my other phone now. What's this lady's name?
Keletso,
Keletso.
write a speech with purpose.
Keletso.
The evaluation. Yes.
Keletso. Keletso, I'm very pleased to meet you. I'm now your evaluator. Please don't be scared
Okay.
of me. I've just turned up. You never
Thank you,
know
Julie,
what's
for
going to
rescuing
happen.
us.
Keletso. That's a beautiful
Yes, I'm
name.
here.
What do you look like?
Are you
Oh,
able to
yes,
see
that's
me?
very nice. Well, this is me. I'm Julie from South Africa. So,
Oh,
Keletso Maidi, is that how you say your name?
Keletso
It's a good
Maidi.
try. Just looking here, I see that you are doing presentation mastery. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Level 1. Yes. Project title, writing a speech with purpose. Yes.
Coding, yes.
Speech title, using resilience to inspire, which
Yes.
sounds very good because that seems to fit in with our theme for the evening, which is progress to strive for betterment. And what's that word of the day?
Iterative.
Oh, good, you'll be able
Iterative.
to include it in your speech. I'm so excited to hear you. It's lovely to meet you. Sorry for the slow introduction, but I'm delighted to come up with have the opportunity to evaluate you. I won't call you Lame by
Thank
mistake,
you.
though.
All right.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Julie, for rescuing us. Yes. Over to you, Keletso Maidi, with the speech titled Using Resilience to Inspire. Over
Good
to you,
evening, fellow
Keletso.
Toastmasters. Have you ever stood at the starting point of a marathon, drowning in anxiety, wondering, not knowing what is ahead of you, not knowing the distance, calculating it in your mind, and wondering if you will actually finish the 50-kilometer ultra marathon? That was me at the beginning of the Omdi Dam ultra marathon. The atmosphere was electric. People posing for pictures. They were excited. Athletes stretching. And there I was. Excited, of course I was. But I had one problem. I had absolutely no idea what a 50-kilometer looks like, what to expect, the route. I didn't even know a thing. I had never run those kilometers. And my entire race plan was just follow anybody in front of you. They'll take you to the finish line as long as they don't stop. As the race began, I settled into a comfortable pace and everything seemed manageable until kilometer 11. There I saw it. I saw a steep hill. I remember staring at it and wondering, how am I going to get up there? Who's going to help me climb this steep hill? But somehow I managed. I decided one step, one leg in front of the other, and then a step became another and another. Before I knew it, the hill was behind me. I reached kilometer 21 mark, and I made it to the first cutoff point. There were cutoff points in between. Cutoff point at 21 kilometer, cutoff point at 30 kilometer, and then 42, and lastly the 50 kilometer, which is the ultra marathon. It should have been a very exciting moment for me, a celebration, but instead my mind kept wandering. My biggest opponent was my mind. After 20 kilometers, I kept wondering, how many more kilometers are remaining? Then I started calculating them. 29, 28, 25. The numbers felt overwhelming. Phew, there I was. By kilometer 27, my body started revolting. Every muscle seemed to have been complaining. At kilometer 28, I decided, no, my race ends here. Right here. I finally reached my breaking point. There I was. Then I told my mate, my running partner, I said to him, go on, don't wait for me. My race ends here. I sat down beside the road by the water point, and I took my running shoes off. He thought I was joking, but no, I wasn't. I turned to Rasta and I told him, just go on. Don't wait for me. Finish your race. In that moment, I truly believed I was done. I was completely done. I was cramping. But sometimes resilience comes in the form of an individual, a person. Instead, Rasta rushed towards the water point. He went to get salt and potato for me. And then a complete stranger just saw me, saw how much pain I was in. And she gave me a deep hit rubbing stuff. With one hand, I'm there holding the salt and the potato. With the other hand, I just looked at that lady and I said, what should I do with the deep heat? My race ends here. And then she started rubbing me, she rubbed me and encouraged me to go on. I took the salt in, ate the potato and decided, why not try it one more time? Why not try it? I took an iterative approach and told myself, success needs you to keep going on, even when it is painful. So I put back my shoes and then I started jogging. In my mind, I kept telling myself, run, jog, Kiliso, run, jog, until the finish line. And that's exactly what I did. I ran, jogged until kilometer 42. That was a marathon. At kilometer 42, I was so emotional. I started crying. Happy, mixed emotions. 1, I've reached a full marathon. 2, I was near the finishing point. And then out of nowhere, I had this massive energy. And then I started running. I paced, increased my paces, my strides. Towards the finishing line, I saw my family and friends that were screaming. I developed that energy. And then just a kilometer before the finishing point, I started dancing. Happiness came. I was so excited. I finished the race on time. I got my medal. And that is all about it. So I learned that if you don't stop, if you keep going, the results surely give. Thank you.
Thank you, Keletso Maidi. As someone who aspires to be a runner myself, I think I have found my motivation in you. That was a true test of resilience. Thank you for that wonderful speech. So our next speaker would be Tepo Mahoe. So I would call upon her evaluator, Lazin Laser, to introduce our next speaker to us. Lazin Laser, are you on the call? Ms. Leah, do you have evaluator Laser on the call?
I don't seem to see that evaluator. I don't know if Dumelo, if you can evaluate Tsepo.
Yes, I can.
Or
Good evening.
Oh, awesome.
Yes. Good evening, Gaborone Toastmasters, visiting Toastmasters and guests. Tonight, I will stand in to evaluate Toastmaster Tsepo Itsing Mahoe as she pursues Presentation Mastery Level 1, Project, I believe, 3, Introduction to Vocal Variety. Her speech is titled Stranded But Not Stopped. The expectation or the objective of her project is for her to incorporate vocal variety or various forms of vocal variety in her speech. That is tone, pitch, volume, and speed. I look forward to hearing your speech, Tsepo, and I will deliver my evaluation during the evaluation segment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dumelo. Over to you, Tepo Mahoe, with the speech titled Stranded But Not Stopped. Over to you, Tepo.
The day is the 8th of November 2025, and I'm standing in Terminal 4 at the John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York, holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold. Completely exhausted. You see, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, I had just come off a 14-hour flight from Johannesburg. 14 hours in the air. Cramped, barely any sleep, replaying my plans over and over again. And I wasn't just traveling for anything. I was traveling to Phoenix, Arizona to attend the PMI Global Summit 2025. 30 minutes before my scheduled time for my next flight, something just felt off. There was no announcement. There was no one at the boarding gate. Passengers just stood there, looking at their phones. And I asked myself, what could be happening? I then had to go look at the flight information board. There it was, cancelled. My flight to Phoenix was cancelled. I then thought to myself, what do I do? I went to the information desk where I was booked for under United Airlines. I found a very long queue. I had to wait in that queue for 30 minutes. As I was waiting, I was asking myself a lot of questions. Then finally, I got to the front of the line and I met an agent who looked at my travel documents and then checked into the system and said to me, the next flight to Phoenix is in 7 hours. 7 hours. 1 hour passed, 2 hours, 3 hours. Then after 6 hours, after waiting, that second flight was also cancelled. This time around, I wasn't just tired. I was disoriented. You see, New York is 6-7 hours behind Gaborone, depending on the season. So I didn't know if it was morning or it was night. So at that point, again, I felt like I knew Terminal 4 more than even the staff themselves. I had to go back again to the information desk. When I got there the second time around, the agent then looked at my travel documents again and said, "Madam, I think this time around we need to reroute you to LA." I thought to myself, LA, that wasn't my plan. At that time, I had a choice to reject this offer and stay frustrated, or to take it and continue moving forward. I took a deep breath and then I said, yes, I'll take the offer. I then, after 3 hours or so, got into the flight to LA, got to LA after around 5 hours, and then I took another flight to Phoenix. I'll then spend around 6 days in Phoenix, enjoying the summit that I had originally planned for, looking off fly with the rest of the project management fraternity. And at the end of that journey, I realized something, that this journey wasn't about flights. It was about how I responded. And the other thing is that at that time, when I was going through this mess, I didn't know something. That time, the US aviation system was under serious strain. Therefore, after a prolonged government shutdown, the air traffic controllers were fatigued because they were working long hours. Those who were working had to now reject the offers of coming to work and end up not coming to work, meaning there were less air traffic controllers on the ground. The Federation Aviation Administration then took a decision that in order to keep the skies safe, they need to control the number of aircraft in the air. So what I was going through at the time was not just my situation. It was part of a bigger situation that I didn't have control over. So in essence, what I learned from this experience is that in life, you are going to plan. And there will be something that come in your way. Obstacles will come. But the main point is how you react to those obstacles. At that point, when I was going through this, because when I got to Phoenix, I had been traveling for over 2 days. I had a choice to control myself because the situation was obviously bigger than what I was going through. There wasn't anything that I could change about the system. So my message for tonight is that life will always have obstacles and will always throw stuff in your way. No matter how much we have planned, no matter how much money you have spent on that trip, but the takeaway from this trip was, for me, that you need, when you get into a problem, you need to just pause, breathe, and adapt. Because most of the time, when you are stranded, you are not actually stopped. Thank you, and back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tshepo, for that wonderful speech. Thank you, Tshepo. That was a wonderful speech. Indeed, we can plan, but obstacles can come. And what is important is how we react to those challenges. That was a very beautiful message to take away. And up next on the virtual stage is Leah Musunga, who will be evaluating Barnabas Morake. Leah Musunga, the virtual stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. And as stated, I will be evaluating Barnabas, who is doing the speech evaluation and feedback. So the speech objective of this speech is basically for him to present a speech on any topic and to receive feedback from this particular meeting. And then the next meeting, when he comes and represents that speech, to see whether he applies that, he will see whether he applies the feedback that he'll get from this meeting today. Thank you, and back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Ms. Leah. Over to you, Barnabas Morake, with the speech titled The Last Mile, the Future Without HIV. Over to you.
Before I joined Toastmasters, I was told I speak very fast. Ever since I joined Toastmasters, my public speaking have become better with iterative practice. Before I begin my speech, good evening, Toastmaster of the Day, good evening, Toasters, ladies and gentlemen. Last week, Hasina spoke about vitamin D, that we get vitamin D from the sun. In fact, she started with a good analogy of two pictures, Caucasians and African descendant. I liked the political correctness of the choice of words. It shows two pictures, Caucasians running towards the sun, African descendants always carrying umbrellas. After learning that information, I have since started exposing myself to the sun. How do I do it? I like jogging in the mornings, which non-athletes refer to as running. I've ensured that by the time I start running, there's a bit of sunlight, so I can enjoy the vitamin D. And thanks to Hasina, I could say, that's progress, not perfection. Now, back to my speech. Speaking of progress, not perfection. My speech title, this phrase resonates very well with my speech title, The Last Mile, the Future Without HIV. The year was 2022 when Botswana achieved the UN AIDS targets. What are those targets? Target number 1, it says each and everyone aged between 50 and 64 needs to know their HIV status. Target number 2, it says, of those who know their HIV status, 95% of those should be on treatment. Target number 3, it says, for those who are on treatment, 95% of those should be virus suppressed. Now to the specifics. We attended a conference in Geneva, virtually, I mean. The presenter started. Botswana has achieved the UN target, the 3 targets. For target number 1, it was 98%. Target number 2, 90%. Target number 3, 95%. There was absolute uproar in the conference room when we were listening to that presentation. Banging of tables, whistling, ululations, and near kisses. We just remember we are professionals. But that's how the excitement ensued in that conference room. We were so excited. I even texted my friends to let them know the good news. I started posting in all platforms. When the presenter continues, after the noise dialed down, he continued. However, the mood got down in the conference room. You know how unsettling that word is? However, he continued. However, adolescents and young people aged 15 to 24 years old only achieved 1 of these 3 targets. Target number 1, they got 84%. Target number 2, they got 90%. Target number 3, they got 91%. You can see how the mood went down in that room. But when we received the first results for the 98, 1990 that we achieved all of them for the adults, it felt at that moment that it was functus officio, that it is done, there's nothing more we can do here. Only that, however, spoiled the mood. So what did that mean? That means that our HIV response among this age group needed to be iterative. Because if we did it for the older group, we can certainly do it for our young people and adolescents. Now, the last mile, the future with HIV, what would it look like? It will look like 3 targeted interventions. We are not going to ignore the older group. We want to sustain that progress. Remember, progress, not perfection. So for young people, what does it mean? Number 1, robust health education. Where do we find young people? Let's target them where we find them the most, in their gadgets, in social media, in all platforms that we could, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, so that we can ensure that their behavioral change is assured in that regard. Secondly, let's empower our young girls and women with financial skills and employment opportunities, so that they do not rely on another man or another person to take care of their needs. That we are going to curb, number 1, transactional sex. We're going to curb GBV. We're going to curb sex work, and we're going to have a healthy community. Lastly, among others that I could mention due to time, we need to work on legislation. there is a huge gap between legislation in terms of what young people can and in terms of the health services that they can achieve and those that cannot achieve access rather without consent. If you could achieve these three key areas, among others, I assure you the last mile will look very positive. Thank you.
Barnabas Morake for Thank you, Barnabas Morake, for that wonderful speech. I loved that when you started, you spoke of how you've already noticed improvements in your public speaking from when you since joined Toastmasters. That's a very positive note. And up on the virtual stage, I would call Palesama Khatho, who will be evaluating Tsholofelo Senwelo. Palesama Khatho.
Good evening, Toastmaster of the day. I hear you butchering my surname. It's Makato.
Oh, sorry about that.
No problem. This evening, I have the pleasure of evaluating Tsholofelo Senwelo. Tsholofelo is delivering her first speech under the feedback and evaluation project, which is under presentation mastery level 1. The purpose or objective of Tsholofelo's speech is to deliver a speech on any topic, anything, any subject, and receive feedback from myself and apply that feedback to the second speech. I look forward to hearing Tsholofelo's speech this evening. And over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Okay, thank you, Palesa. Up on the virtual stage, I will call Tsholofelo Senwelo with the speech titled Done is Better Than Perfect. Over to you, Tsolo.
Thank you, and good evening, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. Have you ever said no to an opportunity? Not because you could not do it, but because you were afraid you would not do it perfectly. Well, that was me back in February this year. One day, my boss called me to her office and said she wanted me to deliver a presentation at one of our regional meetings. Now, in my mind, there was only one response: no. I immediately told her, I cannot do it. I'm not ready. I'm not good with public speaking. And honestly, I thought she was joking. I laughed nervously and waited for her to say, relax, I'm kidding. But she was not kidding. She was serious, very serious. And suddenly, I found myself trapped between two choices. Either continue saying no or prepare for the presentation. Unfortunately for me, my boss did not budge. I tried everything. I explained, I negotiated, I even attempted what I call professional convincing. But every attempt failed. The presentation was happening. And apparently, I was the presenter. Now, the interesting part is this. Preparing the presentation was not difficult. I was familiar with the topic, hey? I understood the content. I knew the material very well. But public speaking is funny. Sometimes the problem is not knowledge. The problem is standing in front of people while your heart is behaving like it wants to resign from your body. Huh? So as the meeting day approached, my anxiety also approached iteratively. Every single day, it grew stronger. And the closer the meeting came, the more I questioned myself. What if I forget everything? What if my voice shakes? What if I embarrass myself in front of colleagues from across the region? Ladies and gentlemen, I had already failed in my mind long before the presentation even began. Imagine. Then the day finally arrived. And oh boy, was I panicking. As I sat there, waiting to be called to the podium, my hands were cold. My heart was racing, and I'm quite certain God was receiving emergency prayers from me. Then my name was called. At that moment, I remember taking a short prayer before standing up. Not a long prayer. There was no time for a full church service. Just a quick, Lord, please. And I stood up and walked to the podium. Now, here is the interesting part. The moment I started speaking, something changed. Was I perfect? No. Did I survive? Yes, but with probably my voice shaking a little. In fact, I did more than survive. I delivered the presentation. I got through every slide. And when it was all over, I remember several colleagues came to compliment me. They told me, "You did well. You spoke confidently. That was great presentation." I was shocked because the entire time I thought people were watching my nervousness. Instead, they were listening to my message. And in that moment, I learned something important. Perfection is often a prison. Many of us delay opportunities because we think we must first become perfect. We say stuff like, I'll apply when I'm more ready. I'll speak when I'm more confident. I'll start when everything is perfect. But confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes after action. Growth is iterative. Nobody wakes up excellent overnight. We improve by trying, by failing, by learning, by repeating. One presentation at a time. One speech at a time. One uncomfortable moment at a time. If my boss had accepted my excuses, I would still believe I could not speak publicly. But she pushed me beyond my fear. And sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you is refusing to let you stay comfortable. That experience taught me that done is better than perfect, because perfection delays progress. Perfection waits. Perfection hesitates. Perfection hides behind fear. But progress shows up anyway. Progress speaks while shaking. Progress tries while uncertain. Progress walks to the podium with fear and still delivers the presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, there may be something in your life you have been postponing because you do not feel ready. A business idea, maybe, a leadership opportunity, a difficult conversation, a dream. You may be waiting to become perfect first. But perhaps what you need is not perfection. Perhaps you simply need courage to begin, because sometimes the most powerful words you can say to yourself are, I may not be perfect, but I am progressing. And trust me, that is more than enough. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tsholofelo Senwelo, for that wonderful speech. I could relate when you spoke of standing in front of people while your heart behaves like it wants to leave your body. We all experience that at some point in our lives, but what is important is that with every speech and every presentation we make is another iteration towards becoming better public speakers. Thank you very much, Tsholofelo Senwelo. And our last speaker for the night is Kagiso Kelebemang. At this point, I will invite her evaluator, helper, Zoe, to the virtual stage to come and tell us about your speech objectives. Helper, over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Toastmaster and fellow Toasties. Hope you are all doing great. So my role tonight is to evaluate Kagiso's speech, Presentation Mastery Level 3, and the project title is Deliver a Social Speech, a Toast to Celebrate a New Union. That's the title of the speech. And her objectives are pretty straightforward. Is for her to practice delivering a social speech in front of club members. Thank you so much, and back to you, Madam Toastmaster. And all the best, Kagiso.
Thank you, helper. Kagiso Kelebemang with a speech titled A Toast to Celebrate a New Union. Over to you, Kagiso.
Good evening, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Kagiso, and I have the incredible privilege of being the maid of honor and the sister of the beautiful bride. We are gathered here to celebrate a beautiful union, a love that I witnessed at the beginning, and I knew that that one will only end in vows. Today is a day filled with joy, with love and gratitude. As I look at Zoe and her new husband, it reminds me of how beautiful it is to witness two people choose each other, not just for today, but for a lifetime. Now, growing up with my sister was a beautiful privilege. I'm getting emotional. She was my first best friend. She was my diary. She was my partner in crime. For those cheeky days, we used to steal cookies. She was my role model. And I must say, as you can see, she is an inspiration to me still. And then she met Mike. Welcome to the family, brother. Mike brings out the best in her. And from the first time we saw them together, we knew that this was meant to be. You can see that the relationship is based on love, respect, and genuine friendship. What an awe. Now, marriage is not about choosing someone you can live with. It's about choosing someone you cannot imagine living without. And I can see why you both chose each other. And now, as you start this new chapter, remember to always celebrate each other, support each other through the challenges, and always put God at the center of your marriage. May your home be filled with blessings, happiness, and love. And may your love continue to grow and bless you with many more. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please raise your glasses. Here's to love, to friendship, and to family. Congratulations, Zoe and Mike. Cheers. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Hey, thank you, Cariso, for delivering such a beautiful social speech. And at this point, I would ask the Zoom master to run the poll for the best effort speaker. Zoom master, kindly run the poll for the best effort speaker so that we may get to vote for the best effort speaker.
The poll has been
While
launched.
Oh, okay. Can we kindly vote for our best effort speaker? We are on 17%, counting 44, 50. Okay. While we are running the poll, may I kindly invite the timekeeper to the virtual stage to come and give us the timekeeper's report. Our timekeeper, Kagelelo Mokgotsi.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster of the day. I must say, time do fly when you are enjoying yourself and enjoying listening to the prepared speeches. My report goes as follows. Ola Morinda clocked 5 minutes on the DOT. Patsimom Happy did 3 minutes, 2 seconds. Kelotso Maidi went a little bit over with 51 seconds, clocking 7 minutes, 51 seconds. Tapo Magoe did 7 minutes, 42 seconds. Barnabas Morake delivered his speech within 7 minutes, 32 seconds. Tolofelo Senuelo, his speech lasted 8 minutes, 20 seconds. Kagiso Kelebemang did 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 57 seconds. Let me take the time to thank you all for staying within the stipulated time. For those who didn't, well, I guess, as Tumelo once said, they're getting comfortable on the stage. Thank you very much, and back to you, Madam Toastmaster of the day.
Okay, thank you, Kagelelo Mokgotsi, who was giving us the timekeeper's report. We are moving on to the last segment of the meeting, which is the better listening evaluations, where our speakers will be getting feedback on their speeches. So I would like to thank all our speakers and the role players. And I want to love and leave you with a saying that perfection is a destination that we might never reach, but progress is a path that we can take every day. So I will, at this point, hand over the virtual stage to our general evaluator. Ms. Leah Musunga. Over to you, Ms. Leah.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster of the day. And we're entering into the second part of our meeting, which is the feedback session of the meeting. And this is one of the best parts of Toastmasters environment, is that after you present your speech, you can then receive feedback on your speech to help you to improve in your follow-up speeches. And what we are giving feedback on is obviously the speech, and in terms of the presentation, not you necessarily the person. Is to help you to improve on your follow-up speeches. As we always say in Toastmasters, evaluations are the breakfast of champions. So this is a moment not just for our speakers, but also for you, our audience. Maybe you might be preparing for a speech. You might hear some feedback that can actually help you in your follow-up speeches. So we always encourage everyone to listen and pay attention, as this feedback is not just for the speakers. With that being said, I would like to invite our first evaluator of the evening, and that was Hasina, who was evaluating our icebreaker speaker, Ola, to the virtual stage to please give us the evaluation of Ola's speech. Hasina?
Hello, everyone. Once again, I'm on the stage. Congratulations, Ola. Your speech was, your icebreaker was strong with clarity and sincerity. I would evaluate you in CRC format. You had a clear and authentic story. We could easily follow your path from discovering your accounting career to build your entrepreneurship vision, to your experience for the Mokobi mentorship, and then ultimately a challenge with public speaking. Your central message was strong, that sometimes the path we never planned for is the one that shapes us the most. And that tied well with your conclusion about the rising sun and the meaning of your name. So overall, your speech resonated very well with your title, with the theme of our progression, not perfection. So this was the first step, and your journey was iterative, and it was the first step towards it. Now I would like to give you one recommendation so that you rise even higher for the next speech. Your most emotional moment was when you said that I volunteered and then froze for the presentation. So instead of saying, you could have described it and also you could have done it. You could have done like your hands are trembling, your voice was husky or something like that. Like Sholofilo described when she was in the same situation. That could have more connected with this audience. They could visualize you strongly. So in closing, I would say that it was an excellent icebreaker, showing honesty, reflection. Your speech structure was very well. You introduced yourself and then you describe your journey and then you concluded. And I loved the way you you titled it and you connected it with your name. And we could easily follow your path just by incorporating these small suggestions. You iterate on these suggestions to improve your describing things so that we can visualize your moment, and to take a pause after you say those emotional things. Otherwise, it was a fantastic, excellent icebreaker speech. Back to you, Madam Evaluator of the Day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hasina, for that feedback. And I'm sure Ola will definitely be applying it for the next speech, because it was, in terms of practical, that can be easily applied. We'll now move on to our next evaluator, and that is Tolaganyo, who was evaluating Patsimo's speech. Tolaganyo, you may come to the virtual stage. You are muted. You are muted. You're still muted.
Am I okay now? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry about that. All right. Thank you, Ms. Leah. I'd like to first of all congratulate Patsimo on completing her very first icebreaker speech. I think she did a wonderful job introducing herself to the club. I thought it was genuine. So like I had mentioned before, I'm focusing my evaluation into 3 parts. So I'll start with what she excelled at. So Patsimo, first of all, I loved how you delivered an authentic speech. I think you're a bit vulnerable, which I really loved. It made me want to hear more about who you are. I think your speech was quite organized. It was short, straight to the point. The beginning was clear, as well as the conclusion. Patsimo, I loved how comfortable you were. You appeared very calm, even though it was your first speech. You appeared very calm in front of the camera. I love that. It's pretty commendable for an icebreaker speech. And I also loved your eye contact. I think you're looking at the audience, you're connecting with the audience. There were no points where you're looking around or looking down, reading down on paper. No, you're looking at your screen, which is the audience. I love that a lot. I'll move on to what I would want you to work on. Patsimo, I'd like you to expand your speech a bit more next time. I still feel like I wanted to know more about who Patsimo is, your interests, where you come from, a lot more. It left me wanting to know more. You're given 6 minutes. You can talk and be comfortable with your club members. I want to urge you to use more of your hands. I feel like right now I'm using more, but I want to urge you to use a bit of movement, a bit of gestures, when you are talking. Like that way, it will help your audience to engage with you more, a lot more. Like you will grab attention, especially when you're emphasizing a point or you're moving from one part of the speech to another. You can show with your gestures, your hand movements, or you can just imitate something with your eyes, do a little gesture. That way people want to listen to what Patsimo is saying. I also noticed that throughout your speech, you almost had almost the same tone. I would urge you to also play around with your vocal variety. It shouldn't just be one tone from the beginning to your conclusion. You can, raise your voice, scream a bit, imitate voices. That way you are emphasizing something in your speech, right? And we would want to know, what is Patsimo talking about? It grabs the attention of the audience. And also storytelling. Patsimo, when I first joined Toastmasters Club, Gaborone, I was told that they love stories. We love stories, right? So I would urge you to, share little stories about yourself. It can be, you can share a bit of background story of really what was the turning point for you that urged you to really make the decision to join the Toastmasters Club. That way, the audience would want to relate with you more. So I'd urge you to really use more storytelling next time. So I'll move on to what I want you to challenge yourself on. Next time, Patimo, I would want you to challenge yourself with standing up. Sometimes it can be a bit scary, but it helps with measuring your confidence when you are standing up and delivering a speech. It helps you with your stage presence, and people want to listen to you more compared to when you are seated, right? And also, I would urge you to be more expressive. Just be free, use more of your vocal variety, express yourself physically, like I said, like that way it will grab the attention of the audience. But overall, Patimo, I loved your icebreaker speech. It was a good start, a beautiful start. I am looking forward to listening to more of your speeches and also seeing more of your growth with the Toastmasters Club. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tolaganyo, for that detailed feedback for Patimo's speech. I'm sure she has received the feedback. We'll now move on to our next evaluator, and that was Julie, who was evaluating Geleto's speech. Julie, you may come to the virtual stage.
Lovely to greet you all, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Keleto. It was my surprise to evaluate you this evening, and you certainly did demonstrate how to use resilience to inspire. It is amazing what a potato can do. And also kindness and support. And that's certainly what we experience at Toastmasters. Fantastic the way she stood up and presented her speech, and also used the word of the day. Also started with a challenge. Have you ever, not knowing, wondering, and then she greeted the fellow Toastmasters with the correct honorifics which we use at Toastmasters International. I would suggest that we be careful when we're on the screen not to look down. And I know this lady had a very stylish hairstyle, but at times she was a little bit too high and at times she looked down. Please also, something I have to be careful to is not to adjust my glasses in the middle of a speech. It's very clever to lean in and to pull away and use the camera a little bit more effectively. Well done on so many things that we can learn from this speaker. Using fingers to point out different items which she was discussing. The body language, she said it was electric. She said there was one problem. She said there was energy, and then you could feel the energy in her body. She said it was exciting, and we could feel the excitement. And she saw a steep hill, and we identified with the hesitation. We can do that even more when we present a speech. And I challenge everybody, not just our speaker this evening, to use the lovely phrases that she had, like, instead of just saying, how am I going to get up? How am I going to get up? But somehow I managed, but somehow I managed. One foot in front of the other. Lovely phrase. One foot in front of the other. Makes it even more dramatic. And the hill was behind me. You know what? If the hill's behind you, look behind you and say, the hill was behind me. It was behind me. And then we all get thrilled with the speaker as she describes it. Oh, my favorite phrase in this speech was, my muscles were complaining. Now my muscles don't complain. My muscles complain. We can emphasize these wonderful words even more. And I would like to say that Doing your Toastmasters pathway is like a marathon. It was like the marathon that you ran. Keep going. Keep eating those potatoes when people offer you a little bit of kindness and another bit. Do you buy those potatoes from in Botswana? Please, can we import them? And let's all take those tips and takeaways, potatoes, and use them to progress. What a lovely speech. Thank you so much. And if you could just drop me a message about where you get the potatoes from in Botswana, please. Thank you very much. Looking forward to your next step on your marathon journey through Toastmasters. You are going to be a champion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie, for that completely detailed evaluation of Keleto's speech. I am sure she has gotten a lot of information that can help her improve. And I'm sure even us as the audience have gotten a lot of information that we can implement in our speeches. We'll now move on to our next evaluator, and that is Tumelo Mapalala, who was evaluating Tsepo Mahoy. Tumelo, you may take the virtual stage.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Good evening once again, and good evening most especially to you, Tsepo Iting Mahoe. Well done on that beautiful speech titled Stranded But Not Stopped. Tsepo, I believe there are several things you did well in your speech, and not all of them were vocal variety-wise. However, I will still point them out anyway. You did a wonderful job in the structure of your speech. You write speeches beautifully with an intro that hooks us, a body to expand, and a conclusion with a definite call for action. You also excelled at storytelling. You told us about the time you were caught at the airport with various flights cancelled, and we lived in the moment with you. Third, but definitely not last or least, you were intentional about your body language and your stage presence. I think you are already at the stage of your speaking where you are aware of your movements, so you make sure to use your stage and to emphasize your speech with your hand gestures. However, the thing I want or you may want to work on concerning vocal variety is that vocal variety is layered. It has tone, pitch, volume, speed, and other elements of emphasis and pauses. So I would like for you to use vocal variety to show emotion. There was, or even feeling. There was a point in your speech where you said, I was exhausted. That was an opportunity for you to say, I was exhausted. That tone would have to change to display the emotion or the feeling you are currently experiencing. Another thing I want you to work on is where speech quotations were involved, or in the speech where you said, I asked myself, or I thought to myself. When you say those quotations, change your tone so that it can really display that this was an introspection on your part. Or if someone else spoke to you, change your tone. The same goes for using volume intentionally in such speech quotations. For example, you asked the agent at the station to say, LA, that was an opportunity for you to actually go louder in your speech and say, LA. I guess you get the difference. However, the one way I'd like you to challenge yourself, Tabo, is to practice. Practice is a simple element. In this practice, try and experiment with your pace. That is, sometimes speeding up or down during your speech. Also, try to deliberately vary your volume. Go high and at some points go low. And also use pauses strategically. So wait for emphasis and pause so that your audience can hear you. So in this practice, you'll find all those areas you can incorporate this. And lastly, try and match tone to your emotion. In summary, Tepo, the good things you did was your structure, your storytelling, your intentional body language, and stage presence. The two things I may want you to work on are using vocal variety to show emotion and using vocal variety, especially tone, where speech quotations are
involved. Lastly, challenge yourself by practicing. This will allow for you to incorporate all those elements I've mentioned. Otherwise, well done, Tepo. It was a lovely speech that you delivered tonight, and it's beautiful to watch your journey here at Toastmasters. Thank you. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Dumelo, for that evaluation for Tsepo's speech. I will now move on to the evaluation of the speaker who followed Tsepo, and that was Barnabas, and I was the person who was evaluating Barnabas. So Barnabas, in terms of your evaluation, I will give it in the Toastmasters way of saying 3 things that you did well, and then 2 things that you may want to work on. So Barnabas, one of the first things that I noticed with your speech today is how well you used your body in terms of the movement. There was a point in your speech where you talked about the 3 targets. Besides just using your hands, you actually used your physical presence by moving from it, because we're on Zoom, by moving. You said target 1, target 2, target 3. That's a very, very good way of having intentional movement, even when we are online. So I thought that was really well done. Then I also picked up the second item was your use of vocal variation during your speech. There were times when you talked about when you were excited that you had met the goals and it came out really clearly. And vocal variety also deals with having pauses within your speech. And there were times when you use pauses quite effectively because you slowed down and you waited before you continued into your next speech. So I thought that your next sentence. So I thought that was really well done in terms of how you presented your speech. Then the third thing that I picked up that I thought you did well is your conclusion, which was your call to order, as a way for us to be more informed, because the kind of speech that you presented today was an informative speech. And I can say, well, I've definitely been informed more about the last mile for the future without HIV in terms of what steps can be taken. So I thought that was really well done in terms of how you concluded your speech. So in terms of what I picked up that you may want to work on is in terms of how you manage your time. That's the first thing I picked up, because when you started your speech, you sort of had like a preamble, which wasn't necessarily part of the speech. Normally, when you're presenting a speech, it's just advisable, just go straight into your speech in terms of what you'll be presenting, so it doesn't confuse your audience in terms of what you start talking about to what it is that you're actually presenting on, because it then also takes away time for you to share more information about the speech that you are actually presenting. So just be mindful about that. So then that would also flow into the next point, which would be to just make sure that then you ensure that the opening of your speech is very clear. Even at that particular moment, you can even tell us exactly what you're going to be talking about what the future without HIV in terms, because the speech that you were giving us was an informative speech. So you can even introduce that right at the beginning. Then in terms of what I picked up maybe that you may want to work on, obviously you gave your speech and it is on Zoom. And one thing about Zoom, obviously our lens is always our audience. So I would challenge you, maybe next time also when you're presenting your speech, to, in terms of your movements, coming closer, moving back, that can also aid in terms of your speech. Other than that, well done in ensuring that you had quite very, very good intentional movement, body language that you used today. Great vocal variation, enjoyed the pauses, good call to order. Just make sure when you start off your speech, you get right into it and make sure that your your introduction, your opening is very clear, and then maybe just try and, come closer, move back in terms of adding additional movements, especially when you are on Zoom. Well done in your speech. Looking forward to your next speech. And at this point, I will call on our next evaluator, and that is Palesa, who was evaluating Solo Fellow's speech. Palesa.
Good evening, General Evaluator. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. And most importantly, good evening to you, Solo Fellow Sinelo. This evening, I had the privilege of evaluating you, and I will be giving my evaluation in 3 parts. What I loved about your presentation, rather speech, what I would have liked to see in your speech, and finally, one way for you to improve your speech. Right, let's get straight into it. First and foremost, here at Toastmasters, we love storytelling, and you did exactly that. You gave us a relatable story, one which we are all familiar with. I know majority of us on the call have had an instance where we are called onto a stage impromptu without preparation, and how daunting that can feel. And you gave us a story similar to that, which was excellently executed. Next, your vocal variety. You spoke audibly, you were loud enough for us to hear. I also loved your speed. There was a point where you said the presentation was happening. You slowed down your speech at that point, emphasizing the point that you were making. Well done on using your vocal variety effectively. Lastly, I loved how you used your gestures throughout the speech. There was a point where you used your gestures and said your heart was racing. That was you once again using gestures to emphasize your point. In terms of things that I would have liked to see or things that you can work on in the future, it would be unintentional body movement. As much as your gestures were appreciated and executed well, there were long periods of time where you were swaying and using your hands unintentionally, which can be distracting for the audience, as you can see. It seems like you can see what I'm doing? Yes. It tends to get a little distracting to the audience. Next, I would like for you to practice your speech, deliver it well so that as the audience, we cannot tell if you're reading or not. There were points where your face was fixated on the left side of your screen, and I was able to tell that you were reading. So it's important that you practice your speech well so you're able to face the camera, face your audience while delivering the speech. In terms of ways to challenge yourself, Solo Fellow, like I said, unintentional body movement was something that I would like for you to work on. So challenge yourself by practicing. It's a trick that you can use where you practice maybe clasping your hands and then only use your gestures to elaborate on a point or do number 2 or something like that, but also just clasping your hands so it doesn't appear that your hands are moving unintentionally. And this will also help you land your point across effectively. Otherwise, I enjoyed your speech and I look forward to your next speech, which will be your second speech, where you incorporate the feedback that you have just received. Thank you, and over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Palesa, for that feedback, that evaluation. And we'll now move on to our final evaluator, and that is Helper, who was evaluating Kagiso's speech. Helper, you may come to the virtual stage.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. And a good evening once again, fellow Toastmasters, as well as Kahiso. Great to have been given a privilege to evaluate you. And it seems like Gaborone Toastmasters got a recipe of storytelling. That was well done. I felt like I was at some kind of a marriage event of sort. The way that you said it, I really loved it. You were lively. I really felt it. And one of the great things that you did was to own the stage. Your movement were not as destructive. So you knew how to move in triangular. I don't know whether it was intentional or not, but I really took note of that. You'd move to the other end, then to the other, then come back to the front. That was well rehearsed, if that was intentional. Well done on doing that. So I love the storytelling part. It felt like it's real. I hope that Zoe and Mike are real people, because if they're not, then you did some great job. But I suspect that it could be Zoe and Mike were in the house, because the way you spoke is like they were listening, somehow. So well done on that. And what I also loved is the use of metaphors, which is she was my diary. That is a great way of showing that she was a confident. It was someone that you trusted, and that came out well with other supplementary descriptors like best friend that then came in so well. And what I also took note of and I love so much was when you say then Zoe met Mike. Welcome to the family, brother. I just love that switch to the first person. That was well done. And finally, you invited us to do a toast, which is a great way of engaging the audience. That is a great thing. And maybe that takes me to the areas that you need to improve, because here I was talking about what you did very well. You should actually find a way to even summon us. Like to say, now I invite you to put your cameras on and let's do a toast to Mike and Zoe. That's a great way to attract the audience. Another area that I think you need to improve on, you don't need to say out your name. I said it, Madam Toastmaster said it, you said it. That was becoming monotonous. Actually, you wasted space. Instead, build on top of that foundation. Use a hook so that we can be fascinated by your story. And one other last element that I believe you need just to look at is when you spoke about I look at Zoe and her new husband, your gestures were not standardized. For Zoe, you pointed at her. I don't know whether because it's your sister, but for Mike, you didn't point at Mike. Maybe you are still not happy because of what she did to your sister. But at least next time, point towards Mike as part of showing your gestures. Other than that, you did a great job, Kahiso. Well done. It was a lovely speech. It felt so real, and I do believe it was. Well done and keep up. Over to you, and thank you so much, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Helper, for that. And I'm sure Hakiso has definitely heard the feedback that has been shared. And at this point, we did actually have a poll for the best evaluator, which will be launched. So you'll see something popping up on your screen for you to vote. I think we had 7 speakers or 6 speakers. Yeah, you'll see something popping up on your screen for you to vote for the best feedback maybe that you thought for the evening. And while we are doing that, I'm going to invite our tag team to come and give us their reports. And I'm going to start with the counter to please come and give us their report of how the crutch words have been used or not used during this meeting today. Hilda?
Good evening once again, fellow Toastmasters.
Let me congratulate all the speakers tonight. The number of times that the R's and the M's were used, including myself using it right now, we had those being used 9 times. Patimo, when she was speaking, she used them 3 times. And her evaluator, Tulahanyo, you used them 6 times. So, but the rest of the other speakers, I did not hear any of the words being used. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much for that short feedback this evening. It seems that people are ensuring that they are using sentences well and not using too many crutch words. Let me move on to our grammarian to see how the English language has been used today. Dumelo?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. As grammarian, I was on the lookout for our use of the English language. I didn't particularly pick up any incorrect use, but I wanted to bring your attention to the use of punctuation in our speech. When we write our speeches, we often use punctuation. We have full stops, we have commas, and these are a reminder for us to take a pause or to wait for emphasis when we speak. So I just wanted to point that out to all speakers because I noticed a trend where people were listing items but not necessarily stopping. A comma allows you to take a short pause. I noted that Patimo said she wants to become articulate, which is also the same as it's used in an interchangeable way, but to mean to become good at articulating themselves. I pointed out an alternative way of also listing, as in when someone was saying, I'll just say when Tepo was saying, and then after 6 hours, when she could have used the statement to rephrase and say 6 hours later. Those are just some habits we may want to fix in our speech. I picked up the use of analogies. So analogies are just where you use 2 things to compare or 2 concepts to compare something, and it's a way of decorating our speech. For example, Tulofelo said perfection can become a prison. So that's one way that she was being colorful with her speech. There were several other ways she used, and I'd like for us to use those in our speeches. When it came to the word of the day was iterative. Iterative is an adjective, and I noted some use or other forms of the word. It was used as an adverb to say iteratively, it was used as a noun to say iteration, and it was used as a verb to say iterate. So the people who used the word of the day, Ola used it once, Julie once honorary when she was asking Keluto what it was, and Keluto used it twice, Barnabas twice, Tolo twice, our Toastmaster of the evening, Matiliso, used it once, and Hasina used it twice. With that, thank you for upholding the basic use of the English language and even sometimes going a step further. Continue to work on your vocabulary and your delivery. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster of the evening.
Thank you very much, Madam Grammarian, for that. And now I'd like to ask for the timer to please give the timing report for our evaluators.
Thank you very much, Madam General Evaluator, to give my final report of the evening. Hasina took 2 minutes, 24 seconds. Tulaganyo took 5 minutes, 9 seconds. Julie took 4 minutes, 12 seconds. Dumelo, 3 minutes, 46 seconds. Leah, 4 minutes, 35 seconds. Palesa took 3 minutes, 59 seconds. And Helper took 3 minutes, 50 seconds. That is how far my report goes. Let me thank the speakers and the evaluators for demonstrating time awareness. Thank you, and back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much for that report on the use of time. So in terms of the general evaluation report, I think I'll just give a short report because today our meeting in terms of what we had on the agenda, because we initially started off with 9 speakers, if I'm not mistaken. So we didn't have what we normally would call as impromptu speaking segment, which is table topics. We also have a half master session, so we were not able to have that because of the number of speakers that we had on our agenda. But we ended up with 7 speakers because of last minute things that do pop up. So well done to Gaborone Toastmasters. It's clear that the members really want to progress in their Toastmasters journey for us to have so many speakers wanting to practice their public speaking. And as always, the meeting room is always opened early for people to come in and test their audio and video. So I always want to encourage our members when we meet online to please come early so you can test your audio and your video to ensure that indeed you are very clear on the stage, so that by the time you are presenting, you won't have any issues regarding that. Our Toastmaster of the day guided our agenda really well. I think we're still left with just a few more minutes before 8 o'clock. So she was able to manage time really well for us to still have a few more minutes before the scheduled end of our meeting. Our evaluators also ensured that they gave feedback that is practical and helpful to our speakers. So well done in that. I think the only thing I would pick up, I think, with the timing today, it wasn't very clear. So maybe next time, I know it can be really hard when we are home. Maybe if you are gonna use a device, it's something that has to be huge and big, if you're gonna, and you can see it gets, sometimes it blends into Zoom things. So sometimes it's advisable even just to remove our Zoom background so that whatever device we're using, it's very clear. But other than that, it's always great to actually use the Zoom background as the timing guide. Then it's nice and clear and everybody can see that. Other than that, thank you so much once again for ensuring that today we had a great meeting. This is because of you, the speakers, and all the role players attending today. I'm now putting on my hat as the club president, and I just want to share the results from the polls that we have had this evening. And I am going to start off with the best evaluator. Yeah, that's normally the first one. So that would be the best evaluator of the evening. So this is based on your everybody who had voted. I noticed that the 70%, so it's over 50%. Our best evaluator of the evening, we'll do drum rolls, is Julie Davis. Woo, well done, Julie. You are voted. And then based on your votes this evening, the best effort speaker is none other than Tsolofelo Senelo. Well done, Tsolofelo. Well done. After a long time, you have been away for a while. So hope you keep on coming back, finish that level 1. And as always, we always want to show appreciation for Toastmasters from other clubs who come to help us. Thank you so much, Julie, for coming in as an evaluator. Thank you so much, Helper, also for coming in as an evaluator and helping us out today. With that being said, I just want to see if we have, I can see, oh, one of our new members, I think just not necessarily new, but recently renewed, Malaki. I can see he is on the call. Welcome, Malaki. Hoping to hear you giving a speech. Our next meeting would be next week, and it will be online. So we're back here again online. Gaborone Toastmasters members, feel free to reach out to our VP or even in our meeting group. Just put your name down as a speaker for next week. We'll be back here online. For our guests, please feel free to hang back be here on the call for some maybe 5-10 minutes to answer any questions that you might have about joining. I can see some people who came back yet again. So if you're interested in joining, starting your own public speaking journey, feel free to stay back just for 5-10 minutes. We'll be here to answer any questions that you may have. I think one exciting thing that happened, one of our club members, it's exciting, I think it is exciting. One of our club members had joined and was still working through their level 1, and this weekend was crowned Mrs. Botswana. You might have seen something here or there, and that is in Dapiwa. So we want to say congratulations in absentia. I think she's now busy out there, and she actually sent a message in our club group just saying, all the feedback that she got from our meetings is definitely stuff that helped her to progress and be crowned to be a queen, Mrs. Botswana. So well done to her. It's a great testament to what practicing your public speaking in a safe environment can do. And that's what Toastmasters is. This is a safe environment to practice, and then you go out in the real world and put it into practice. So we'll be seeing you back here next week, Tuesday. With that being said, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You may please stop the recording. She's not there. All right. Okay. Do we have any guests who have any questions you want to know about Gaborone Toastmasters in case you want to join? Hello, Wendy. I see there is someone here. Hello, Wendy. Interested? Oh, okay. Our Vice President of Membership has put her contact details in the chat in case you are interested. She will definitely help you and tell you what you need to do for you to join. And you could be giving your speech here next week, Tuesday. By the end of the month, you could have given 3-4 speeches. It's possible. Hello, Karabo. Hi, Karabo.
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good.
How did you find our meeting?
I learned a lot. I'm a new member of Toastmasters. I had my first speech last Saturday at breakfast. Yeah, yes. So I learned a lot, actually, especially during the evaluation of speeches. I got to learn how to structure a speech and everything that is needed of me when I'm making a speech.
That's amazing. That is definitely amazing. You're free to come and visit us anytime and take up a role if you want. Good evening. I'm seeing here Kiatlareti. Hello, Kiatlareti. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Okay, maybe she's away from the mic. Oh, there you unmuted yourself. I saw you unmuted yourself. Good evening, Kiatlareti.
Good evening.
Good evening. How did you find our meeting today?
It was good. It's my first time actually attending.
Oh, okay. So you saw a poster like on Facebook or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So will you be joining us?
Yeah, I would like to join as the year goes on.
As
So,
the year goes on.
yeah.
Okay, so don't worry, you're free to always come and visit us. You can join the meetings, and normally when we do have the impromptu speakers, that's the time that guests can participate in the impromptu speaking session. Unfortunately, we were not able to have that today.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can always note our Vice President memberships details that are in the chat. She can share with you more information about joining. Good evening, Wendy. Hi, Wendy. Still not there. Hello, Stella. Hi, Stella.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. How did you find our meeting today?
Oh, it was good. It was my first time. I've been
Okay.
wanting to, know exactly what happens with Toastmasters,
Mm-hmm.
and no, it was quite interesting.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And so are you looking to join?
Yes, I am because actually, I'm hoping to improve my spoken English.
Okay.
So I'm not so sure if that will be beneficiary for me.
I mean, obviously, in terms of I mean, the more you practice and speaking, that's how you obviously get to improve. I've definitely heard of people who have had, because of the practice. I was actually telling somebody before the meeting started that by the time you complete one pathway, you would have given 15 speeches. So that's you practicing to
Wow,
speech.
that's
You
true.
would have given at least 15 speeches. So that's quite a lot. All of them from 5 to 7 minutes. Maybe the last one you do is like 10 minutes. So it's
Okay.
just about practice that you get to do. But definitely reach out
Okay.
to our Vice President of Membership, Kahalelo. Her number is in the chat so that she can share more
Okay.
information.
All right. Thank you so much.
Right.
I surely will.
Right. Yes, yes. Hi, Mpo TB. Hello, Mpo.
Hello.
Hi. How did you find our meeting today?
Hello. Hi, Leah.
Hello. Yes, yes. How did you find our meeting today?
It was very good. It was very good
Okay.
and inspiring. Yes.
Oh, okay. I think maybe she has challenges with the audio. I was going to say. Okay. Who else am I speaking to? Kiamo Kheti. Hello, Kiamo Kheti.
Good evening. Can you hear
Hello.
me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, no, thank you for this opportunity. It's my first time here and it's very informative and it's very scary, but I'm willing to take the challenge.
Yes.
And I'm so happy to be honored. Thank you.
Oh, no, no. Yes. I mean, like I said, this is a safe environment. You come and practice here and very supportive, and then you can take the skills out there into the world and apply them there after you have practiced in this environment and gotten feedback. So I like to hear all these new people coming and joining us today. Definitely our VPM, like I said, her number is in the chat. Please reach out to her to see how you can get started. Oh, I see Wendy is typing. Good evening. Yes, good evening, Wendy. Maybe you had some issues to mute. That's fine. So for all the people who just joined us today, it's your first time here. Remember, like I said, there's never, you can join anytime that you want. And sometimes the best time to join is now. But other than that, you are free to ask more questions. Like someone said, they were from another club, they came to visit. You're free to visit other clubs to see, okay, how is it here? How is it here for you before you decide which club you want to join? Hope you join us. But yes, feel free to visit other clubs before you even make your final decision. Otherwise, if this is the club you want to be a part of, our of membership will definitely guide you, and we could be hearing you presenting your first speech next week, Tuesday. Like I said, I was going to keep you here for just 5 to 10 more minutes, and I can see it is 8:10. Thank you so much, everybody. Hope I've answered all your questions. If anyone has a question, I try to speak to the people. Does anyone have a question? Maybe you want to know something before we close the meeting? Anyone have a question? Because I can see there are 12 people on the call. Anyone have a question? The people haven't left. Anyone have a question? Did someone even join the meeting? I'm seeing we have increased in number. Okay, no one has a question? Okay, then I guess we'll cut the meeting to close. Thank you, everybody, and see you next week online. I'll end the